Let's explain the difference between white privilege and work ethic. I'm going to unpack a video that caught my attention. I don't know the brother's name. I assume he's a black conservative. And he put this video out showing his response to a white woman explaining her road to success wasn't due to white privilege, but work ethic. Now, that's the clip. I'm going to unpack it. But before I do, let's define what white privilege is. Now, with these terms, they usually originate from academic studies. And then those who conduct the studies coin the terms, okay? So there could be many definitions on how people use the term white privilege. And in this case, the video that we're getting ready to show, it's used in a wrong definition. But here's the dictionary, or a dictionary, this is online, Oxford Dictionary definition, white privilege. Inherent advantages possessed by a white person on the basis of their race in a society characterized by racial inequalities and injustice. So that's sort of the academic term. Now, a lot of white people push back against that, and as we will see, the brother will also sort of agree that there is no white privilege. Well, understand, we're not talking about ethic, which I will get into in the video. But what we are talking about is how our culture produced a privilege of being white. And that comes in many forms. For example, many black men were killed simply because a white woman accused them, even if it was a lie. They took the word of a white woman. Now, that's just a wild example, I agree, but that's nevertheless an example, because a black woman could not accuse a slave master, a white man, of rape, and anything was done. See, that's, again, privilege. Now, in the case of what I think a lot of people miss as far as how to define white privilege is outcomes. In other words, because white people do not have outcomes or successful outcomes, that means they don't have privilege. That's not true. Because here's the difference. Because as a white person, there was never any obstacles hindering that person, as we're going to see with this woman. There was never any obstacles hindering them from success. Now, without a doubt, there are, and the brother's going to say, many white people that are disadvantaged. They are poor. They suffer. They don't have resources. But it's not because of being white. On the other hand, black people have always had to struggle based on their race. Here's an example. Let's say we're in around 1910, okay? There was the first black millionaire woman. Her name was Madam C.J. Walker. I ain't millionaire. I mean, a millionaire, she had $1 million even back then, okay? Now watch this. Now, she was a millionaire. She bought luxury cars, had fancy homes, clothes, jewelry. But let's say if she hopped into her fancy car that she paid for and drove through the South. Now, because of Jim Crow, no matter how rich she was black. And that means she couldn't eat in certain cafes. Or if she went into the cafe, certain cafes, she would have to eat on the Negro side, the color side. She would have to use the colored bathroom, which were not equal at all. She would have to drink from the Negro or colored water fountain. Now see the difference in the privilege? But now, let's say she drives through whatever part of the South and she comes upon a cafe. She stops and she sees a dirt poor, filthy white woman just sitting by the side. Maybe she's hungry. She doesn't go into the cafe because she doesn't have any money in which to buy food. But now let's say CJ takes pity on her and gives her $10, which would have been a lot back then. More than enough for a meal. Now watch this. Because of her privilege, the poor, dirt poor, filthy white woman could then go into the cafe, eat on the white side that CJ paid for because she was white and CJ couldn't. That's what we talk about. That's what we talk about when we say privilege. That, see, there are obstacles that society, since the inception of this nation, instituted based upon race. One was, of course, slavery, and that blacks had no standing during the slave era. And when the war happens, the Civil War, so now when society could no longer profit from slave, they instituted Jim Crow segregation laws. And now this is where you had the separate but equal, except it was never equal. There were horrendous conditions. And even in the North, blacks were treated the same way. Blacks could not sit on the same train as whites. But watch this now. I am a tradesman. You look at any trade, any skyline, any metropolitan city, I could work in any one of the office buildings. So big skyrise, high-rise buildings, I can work. But even in this day and time, my skin color is a major obstacle because there are a lot of hiring managers, meaning chief engineers, that will not hire people of color. It doesn't matter my ethic. It doesn't matter my qualifications. They will not. Now, on the other hand, there are many black tradesmen who get in that's less qualified. They will train them. They will help them. Maybe a political affiliation. That's what we talk about in terms of the difference of privilege. So I'm going to play this video and I'm going to go through it and comment as we go. So here we go.
Only reason you're saying that this reeks of white privilege is because you're seeing the end result and you're seeing the final product, okay?
Now, he's going to explain why she is saying this. I'm going to agree with him that sometimes people throw out racism, white privilege, okay, unfairly. And so she's defending it. What I'm going to say is, and I'm making the difference as she's going to explain, that white privilege has nothing to do with her work ethic. So here we go. And by the way, that's the brother you see right there. He's the one. This is his video, and he will comment in just a moment.
That's it. You didn't see anything before when I was successful. I grew up not wealthy by any means. My dad was not a successful entrepreneur until I was around 22 years old, basically graduated from college, okay? I went to college. I didn't have a computer. I didn't have a car in high school. I had to go to the library to do all of my homework. I had to buy my own car to go to college, which was a literal piece of shit. GNC Jimmy, look her up. She's cute. Also, No, it has nothing to do with white privilege. It has.
Now let's stop, because notice when she's saying white privilege. Now, in fairness, again, she's responding to, I think, someone who just kind of attributed her success to white privilege. And I'm going to say, granted, her success doesn't mean white privilege only. It doesn't even mean white privilege. As she is explaining, it simply could be she worked hard and she rose up. What I'm going to say is yeah, because of your white privilege, you did not have the obstacles that maybe a black woman with the same age and the same work ethic would have to get ahead. That's just reality and a fact. All right.
Everything to do with how I was raised, and I had to learn the value of a dollar at a very young age, okay? My parents did not give me anything unless it was earned, okay? You want $5 to go get some ice cream? What are you gonna do around the house? Are you gonna go mow the lawn? Oh, well, I need $20. Okay, you can mow 2 lawns. I was taught so young that you had to do something in order to receive money, okay? What does that instill within a child? It instills work ethic, okay?
Now let me stop here. Now watch this. I had a work ethic as well. At 10, I was pushing my lawnmower with a gas tank around my neighborhood, even neighboring neighborhoods, cutting grass. At what was that, 11, 12, I was in the summertime working in cotton fields with what they call chopping cotton, but it simply was chopping the weeds around the cotton plants, okay? Which was a great job for an 11-year-old at the time, making $8 an hour. And by the way, I had to get up 4 in the morning, so I had the ethic, okay? But here's the difference. As I said, my work ethics never changed, but I had great struggle trying to get a job in the field that I was in. And I'm going to tell you, it was solely because of race, not because of ethics, not because of qualifications.
I turned 15, I got my first job because all of my friends were rich around me. My parents couldn't afford the Uggs, the North Faces, the coats, the everything that I wanted, the Victoria's Secret leggings. Heaven forbid we don't have 35 pair like everybody else. I had to get a job at 15 because my parents could not afford those things. I worked that job until I was 22. I also had 3 jobs in college.
So let me bring y'all up to speed on what's happening.
So now he is going to, and this is what my question is going to be here. He is, or let me ask the question, is he getting ready to black explain white privilege? Question mark. Here we go.
This woman posted something about she couldn't work a 9 to 5 or something like 9 to 5 is a scam because she's a CEO now. And I don't even think it was any longer than like 5 to 10 seconds or something like that. But then she gets comments in there, unwarranted, don't know what it has to do with race, trying to figure out how it became a race based conversation. But she
I'm going to kind of agree with him because I think probably she got attacked. If she was talking about her work ethics and somebody threw in white privilege. And it's not that it's not valid. I think it's, again, a valid point, and I do think it's something that should be acknowledged. As I said, she has great ethics. Not going to speak against that, but at the same time, as a white woman, she's not going to have the obstacles that a black person will have if they have the same work ethics as she does. That's the difference. Here we go.
then gets a comment from somebody that says basically it's because she has white privilege. And this is how you know that white people have now become the enemy of most people inside of the United States of America.
Stop. Who are the most people you're talking about, since the most people are white people? She's saying that white. I think this is why I think he's a black conservative, because he's kind of regurgitating the same kind of nonsense, that now all of a sudden she's the victim, that as a white person now she becomes the object of hate. No, as conservatives often say, remember, 77 people voted for Trump, so not everybody thinks that way. So who is making white people the enemy? That's rhetoric. Okay, that's rhetoric, and it's the same kind of rhetoric they use to try to downplay critical race theory, Black Lives Matter, the civil rights movement. You know,
because they are using them as the benchmark, right? Because most white people, similar to what she is describing, is living a normal life and or they are stuck in, poverty or middle class or whatever. The majority of people that I've seen that were complaining about food stamps on the internet was white people.
so again, it's all a matter of perspective. White people in rural areas, poor areas, yes. White people in middle class, upper middle class area, not. They're doing fine, okay? So yes, most people on food stamps and um, welfare are white, but as I said, they don't have at any time any one of those white people could move out of that bracket and won't have the obstacles that black people have.
And so I'm trying to figure out where is this white privilege when it comes to work ethic and putting in the work in order to become the CEO of your company.
There is no white privilege, and yes, she could work and is to be applauded because she did work her way up and then achieve a CEO. And I'm going to say the white privilege comes in at no obstacles. Society doesn't put a barrier or obstacles that will hinder or even stop. Black people have many obstacles and uh, 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 um, things that will hinder their progress. Okay.
They fail just like everybody else. I'm trying to see where the correlation is so we can solve for this race issue in this victim Olympics.
Well, you're not going to solve the racism. You're not going to solve the race problem. That's the kind of the issue right there. You're not going to solve the race issue because people still think like racists. That's why you're not going to solve. And even as I said before, I in the field where I work as a tradesman, as I said, you look at any skyline in any metropolitan area, I could work in that building. I'm qualified to work in that building. I'm skilled to work in that building. But yet, there would be obstacles for me to go in those buildings and get a job. You don't believe me? Just go to the mechanical or engineering department of almost any job factory, government jobs on the exception, but even there, go to most of those departments and you're going to see that they are mostly white, if not all white. And a lot of that is on purpose. Okay, on purpose. Much can be said about a whole lot of other areas. Now, it doesn't mean that black haven't, and without a doubt, there are blacks that have succeeded. But understand that a lot of times they will tell you themselves of the obstacles they face that white people didn't face. And that's the difference between work ethic and white privilege. And I'll say I don't think she should be demonized for her success. My point is, let's acknowledge that, like her, any one of the white people that's impoverished, they won't have the same obstacles that a black person who starts off in the same spot, running the same race. Okay, you have a black person and a white person that starts off dirt poor on food stamps. The white person will have an easier route than the black person. Our society is just still that way. All right, guys, that's enough. Excuse me. Don't forget to like and share this video and subscribe to BP the Bible Perspective. And as always, if you have a thought, a comment, add it to the comment section below. All comments are welcome. See you next time.